Hello,
Hi,
Shivani. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good too. Yeah,
I'm honestly so nervous. As I said, like this is my first time. I
that's
have no idea.
completely fine. That's completely fine.
We'll just
I started
see how.
doing this pretty recently, so I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Do you want to wait a
So
couple
are
of
we
minutes
just
so people start joining?
waiting for more people? Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll do that.
I think till then I'll just start with the intro and everything. So by then we
Yeah.
can start get going. Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's Live with Labels. I'm Ananya, and I'm delighted to be in conversation here with Shivani Kapoor from Clarachè. And we hope to share some valuable insights about fashion, about trends, about how fashion is right now in India and how it's explored everything. And we hope to provide some valuable insights for all of you. So initially, I'll just talk a little bit about LynkTown so all of you understand a little bit what our messaging is and what we want to accomplish. So LynkTown is going to be your go-to social commerce app. And our goal is basically to empower designers and brands by leveraging the power of social selling and enabling them to connect to a broader audience through social media. It's basically the place to be on social media for us to come together seamlessly in a secure way and to supercharge fashion transactions. And this includes to provide assured transactions, secure transactions, hassle-free and precise measurements, seamless brand management with analytics, and to connect and grow with this super supportive community. So whether you're a designer or an established D2C brand, LinkedIn is the place to be. And now about Shivani Kapoor and her amazing brand Clarachè. So Clarachè is a homegrown Indian brand that is super gender inclusive and definitely focuses a lot on sustainability. Their designs are super chic and are inspired greatly by 60s and 70s fashion trends, and they have very simplistic and elegant looks, which are definitely fine-tuned with what they say is innocence and audacity, which I love. So the brand
Thank you.
embraces Indian culture and tries to be vocal for the locals, which is basically creating employment opportunities in traditional handcrafted embroidery and bringing it all in modern silhouettes. So I'm very, very excited to be in conversation with you today.
I'm nervous. I'm still nervous, but
That's okay. We can start out with slow. So let's start out with like the simple question.
yeah.
So can you tell me the story about why you named your brand Clarachè and what the brand journey was and what brought you here?
Um, okay, so this is one of the most asked questions that,
Mm-hmm.
of course, like everybody asks me, like, how did the name come up? So
Mm-hmm.
there's a small story behind it. So back in the day, like in my high school, I used to play a lot of word building games in which, like, there used to
Right.
be like a big word, then you like, break it down into like a three
Mm-hmm.
letter or like a four-letter word. So I used to do that a lot. And this one day, we were just like sitting with a group of friends, just discussing about fashion stuff. And honestly, I was no close to knowing any of the brands. And that day, I think I came back home and just like, sort of, I was reading through like, some brands.
Mm-hmm.
And while I was noting down like, things in the notebook, I just like sort of just created this word accidentally where, this
Yeah.
Clarachè, so the C came from Chanel, L came
Mm-hmm.
from Louis Vuitton, and the sound of Versace. So Clarachè. So
Ah,
basically, it was just like
that's nice.
very accidental, and of course, I didn't know. I was like, what am I going to do with this name?
Mm-hmm.
But turns out like later when I chose fashion as my career, so there was like this purpose which was attached to the name. So this is how
Right, right.
basically like I came up with it.
That's really fun. And I think it definitely adds the sort of innocence and really fun twist on how to come up with brand names. That's really cool.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
again, as you mentioned, your brand name came from something that was part of your childhood and everything. So how often does nostalgia play a role in your fashion, and how do you capture the essence of this iconic decades and kind of bring it to the modern day trends?
So, okay, so before I answer that question,
Mm-hmm.
there's again a small story to it,
Mm-hmm.
which like, back in college, we like, I actually took my last year of college very seriously. Before that, I don't think I
Okay.
took studies very, seriously.
Right.
So last year, we had to like come up with this topic where we had to do the research to make a collection um, for like good
Mm-hmm.
9 months. So there had to be like one
Okay.
topic that really excited you for the next 9 months of your life. So at that time, I was very much into movies and documentaries. I'm still like, into
Mm-hmm.
that. But at that point, that was something that really captured my ideation.
Mm-hmm.
And there was this French director named Eric Romer. So
Mm-hmm.
he sort of created a six model tales, like, a series of six movies, which started
Okay.
from the decade of 60s to 70s. And that is where, like, starting from a black and white movie to like introducing color into the movie, that was something which was too fascinating for me in general. And
Right.
in that project, basically I created a seventh fictional character. So as to like, if Eric Romer had to create a seventh, character, but in
Right.
2023, what would he create? So that gave me the freedom in general to, bringing back that nostalgia from that particular era into what I do today. So I'm not saying that, all my designs are very much like,
Mm-hmm.
inspired from 60s and 70s, but I feel that whenever I start a collection, I always have that starting point somewhere from
Mm-hmm.
that.
Got it.
So
I
this
think
is how I
that's
feel.
really fun.
Yeah.
I think it's really nice that first you build a story around something and then you come up with a collection, because I think that really speaks to you as a designer and an
Yeah.
artist as well, and that definitely keeps you going. That's really cool. So, like you mentioned, you took inspiration from these films in the 60s and 70s. Is there anything particular you found exciting to incorporate into these creations?
So basically what the elements that I personally have added, like from 60s and 70s, that I have took out is um the art movement, which was the pop culture,
Mm-hmm.
was introduced in the 60s. So there was this introduction of colors, which was
Mm-hmm.
like done in that specific decade. And even
Right.
for men, the fashion, like they had the freedom to be more flamboyant,
Right.
I would say,
Yeah,
in terms
definitely.
of like, even if they're wearing a pantsuit, there would be like a bright colored shirt. Like that's how they accessorized it with boots or something. Like, the fashion became more fluid, which
Mm-hmm.
is something that was, again, this is something that I bring in my collections today also. Like I do a lot of, so
Yep.
one of my most selling items, which is the unisex bowling shirts that I do, is actually
Mm-hmm.
coming and stemming out of that idea only, that I do like a lot of colors in general.
Right. Okay. Fun.
So I think this is what has captured, like, with me, that I do use like a lot of pop color in my outfits, or like just designs in general.
Yeah, that's awesome. I think even my favorite part of 70s fashion was the bright and fun colors that even men were wearing. And I think right now, with the current modern age, with queer culture being so prevalent or coming up, and gender inclusivity is something that a
Yeah.
lot of brands are incorporating. So it's really nice to hear that Clarachè comes from roots as such.
Yeah.
Yeah. So again, while talking about modern fashion, now a lot of brands are kind of turning towards sustainable options and sustainability, and your brand Karache is rooted in sustainability as well. So how do you incorporate sustainabilities into your pieces? And
Um, okay, so I feel that sustainability is such a vast concept, and we
hmm
all use it so casually these days. Like, brands were not even like that sustainable, would say that, that they're just like, as a selling point of view, we're using
yeah,
that a lot today. But I feel that as a brand, I wouldn't say that my brand is like fully or like 100% sustainable. It's not,
hmm
because it's very, and you need like a lot of capital also, like, to be a full 100% sustainable. But I think I have made like a lot of conscious decisions in terms of being a slow fashion brand.
hmm
And I know that, you also lose down on certain level of business as well. Like when you're being a slow fashion brand, you cannot have all of it. And
right,
I feel this is something that I do. So my process is that I create samples,
hmm
and then I am just like putting it out there, like on my website, which is like, I'm putting out the designs. I'm not creating stocks. I'm not keeping
hmm
like, so one specific design, creating 10 different sizes. If
right,
somebody really wants it, that's when I create, and which is why I take like 10 to 15 days of like, the
hmm
delivery period. And I think this is my contribution to being sustainable in some way, that I'm not creating dead stocks which I know that might not
Mm-hmm.
sell. So I am generally focusing on that it could be like, just made to order basically. So that's my whole business plan.
And I think slow fashion in general, it's because now, like you mentioned, sustainability is also something that people just slap a tag on
Yeah.
to make sales.
Yeah.
And it's kind of a spectrum, actually. Like you can fall in any segment when it comes to sustainability, depending on what phase your brand is in. But I think slow fashion also has the advantage that, the quality of your pieces is definitely far more
Absolutely.
superior than anything else you can get in fast fashion.
Yeah, but then again, I feel that is also very subjective in
Mm-hmm.
general, because I feel that once, like, if you're doing multiple, like, if you're a fast fashion brand where you're creating n number of pieces, that's like, a machine work. And of course, the
Right.
precision and everything is much better.
More
But
specific, yeah.
when you're doing it, like, if you have, like, in-house tailors and stuff, it's more of a labor work that's happening. And there are, like,
Mm-hmm.
some mistakes here and there that could possibly happen, but then we also have, like, the quality control people just to see if everything is in place.
Right, right.
Yeah.
Completely makes sense. I think another thing that I really liked about your brand that you were mentioning is how you have seasonless clothing. So it's something that's extremely versatile and you can wear it whenever you want. So how do you think that kind of falls into place of staying like relevant in terms of fashion trends in this kind of sphere where fashion trends are constantly ever changing?
Um, Again, I feel being seasonless as a brand was not something that I initially decided on when I started it. Like, that wasn't my
Mm-hmm.
initial plan. But I feel during the process, like when I got into it in a way, I did that for
Mm-hmm.
my own sanity. Like, if that makes sense to
Right.
anyone out there, I only did it for my own sanity, because I feel that once, like, for instance, like, you've made a summer collection and it's out there, you're not even fully enjoying the process that, like, your collection is out there. You're constantly in your head thinking, okay, what's next? Now you don't want to be late for the winter pieces, because the season
Mm. Right.
spectrum is so, like, small, that you're constantly worrying about what's next. And then it's the creative block that happens, like, and then you're just like stuck with as to, okay, what do you want to do next? So which is
Right.
why I decided that even if I like something which is a summer piece and I want to release that in winters, who cares? Somebody
Okay.
who likes my design any which way would anyway end up buying it, like,
Yeah,
maybe
for
for
sure.
the next season, or like if they're going out on a holiday, whatever. So I don't want to fall into that rat race of
Mm-hmm.
just creating even when I'm not feeling it. So that is something
That's
that I want to
awesome.
keep it that way. So which is why, like, I learned during the process that, okay, now we're a seasonless brand.
Yeah, that's fun. And I think that also gives you more joy in creating as well, I think, in some
Yeah, like, I
scenarios,
think
because you're not putting
isn't that
yourself
the
in a
whole point
box.
of it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's awesome. So is there anything you're currently working on that you're super excited about that may be coming up soon?
um Definitely, we have a lot, honestly, going on right now. But something that I am okay. So this is something that is not going to happen. Like it would happen eventually. But what I really want to do is that I want to, since, like, my brand identifies as with like too many colors. So I really want to come up with
Mm-hmm.
just one color and make a whole collection out of it. And that is, I think, the
Okay.
challenge as to what color do I like the most? I
Right.
have no idea, but I really want to just, like, maybe, for instance, if I'm thinking of brown, so then I want to
Mm-hmm.
do like all shades of brown in like one collection. So, I mean, this
Okay.
is just something that we're still thinking on. And this is probably something that we would launch maybe next year, I think.
I think that's super fun, especially coming from a brand that is all about color. Having a collection
Yeah.
in one color palette would be so fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, kind of going into kind of your tricks, your tips and tricks and hacks that you use as a brand and as a person, like you love dressing in color. So, how would you recommend somebody who generally dresses in neutrals or doesn't go to too like flashy colors or doesn't go for that flamboyant style? How would you kind of tell them that how they can slowly start embracing a pop of color? Like, how would you suggest they go about it?
Um, I feel again like this is such a subjective thing in general, that
Mm-hmm.
people who don't like colors, they don't like colors. Like, you cannot really push them into wanting those colors. But as a brand, since like I want to identify as a brand that, sort of like have colors, what I do is that
Mm-hmm.
even if I'm making an outfit or like a design which has a muted tone on the outside, I make sure that I add like that hint of pop color in the lining. So just in case,
Right.
like if somebody's wearing it out, they could just like maybe roll up their sleeves, and then that hint of like that
Right.
pop color is peeping out of your outfit. So I mean, I do that as like, for somebody, and like I make my clients like sort of more excited about using that hint of color a
Mm-hmm.
little bit. Like whenever somebody comes with me that I only love black, I'm like, okay, no, let me show you more colors. Like that is something that I would
Right.
personally want like everybody to at least try it out.
Yeah, that's super fun. I was also a victim of black till very recently, so I've just started embracing color.
Yeah. I mean, a
Yeah.
lot of people do that. Like, they only want to stick to like
Mm-hmm.
just the basic, and which is fine, like, each to their own. But at the same time, I feel that if somebody comes to me with that mindset, I'm like, okay, let me just try and change it at least, like just a little bit.
Let's just add like a sprinkle of color
Yeah,
on
just a
top.
hint of color,
Yeah.
maybe. Yeah.
Yeah. So again, because fashion is so subjective, and that people you can be fashionable even on a budget, right? So what would you think, or what are your tips to your audience that you can add like some pieces to your wardrobe to have that fashionable kind of essence when you're on a budget?
Um, okay, so this is, of course, like, this is something that I personally do. I'm not
Mm-hmm.
sure, like, who would resonate to that at all. Like, whenever we have, like, this Indian wedding season that
Mm-hmm.
happens, and we all tend to spend so much on these extravagant pieces that we're not even going to wear it. Like, we might wear it here and there, but again, like, you're spending so much money on that. How I see it, that what I personally do, I can tell you that I go to my parents or like my grandmom's wardrobe, and it's like they have these stacked, I don't know, just like
Yeah.
pieces which are old
Yeah.
pieces, and I personally repurpose them a lot. Like if they're not
Mm-hmm.
using something, I would take it out and just like make something of my own, and something that I know is more wearable to me,
Mm-hmm.
I could make that. So I feel everybody has an access of these old clothes that you can
Yeah.
anyway repurpose. And if somebody's not coming from like a design background, you always have Pinterest, and like there are
Mm-hmm.
so many options that you could find, like just to have some inspiration and make something of your own. I mean, that's how I feel.
Yeah, that completely makes sense. And I think that is something that slowly people are starting to look into, but it's something that definitely
Slowly,
I
yes. Like,
should get
it's a slow and
widespread.
steady process. I mean, if
Mm-hmm.
somebody's on a budget, I feel why to spend so much where you can just like find something from your wardrobe and just give it a twist, like, use your imagination. And I feel that you end up enjoying your garment even more
Definitely.
when
And I think it
when you
adds
put
that
in
sense of
that thought.
emotion to the garment as
Yeah,
well, kind of
yeah,
adding that special story behind it.
yeah,
So
yeah.
when it comes to your personal style, like what is like your signature hack that helps you stand out or makes you feel the most confident?
um, I have my obviously. But I feel that lately I've been obsessed with this trend called brocade. So what
Okay.
does it mean is that like using very hyper feminine pieces and matching up with just like masculine pieces. So for instance, my personal favorite is like my go-to is mini skirts. I feel so confident, I feel so
Mm-hmm.
feminine wearing them. And if I add like a oversized blazer with it, or like an oversized sweatshirt, like that just makes me feel extremely confident like when I step out. So
Love it.
that's my go-to.
Yeah, I love that aesthetic as well. I think it looks phenomenal on most people. And I think having now with such androgynous styles coming out as well,
Yeah,
having super high, like hyper masculine and hyper feminine pieces on multiple genders as well, it kind of creates this whole new sphere of fashion that I think society in general didn't
exactly.
expect to see. And I think that's really
For
awesome.
sure. And I feel that it's just so again, like, that's my personal style, but I feel there are so many people out there who just like, of course they're all doing this. And I personally feel extremely confident when I mix and match those pieces, and I see that so many people out there are also doing the same thing.
Awesome. Yeah. Now, kind of coming into the more confessions side of this interview. So, can you confess to a trend or a style that you disliked at the beginning, but now it's like grown on you?
I think at some point I was really not liking low-rise jeans. Like that was just one trend that I wasn't following. But now I think I'm so obsessed with it now that, you see everybody out there just like, wearing low-rise and like so confidently. I personally love that trend so much. And I have been also consciously trying to pull that off. But I mean, I'm still trying, but I love it. I love it on other people. I'm still like, wanting to try more low rise. So like I'm team low rise now.
That's awesome. I'm still team high rise for a while now, but let's see where that goes.
Yeah.
So again, is there any specific fashion icon or designer who has had a significant influence on you or on your personal style, if not your brand?
I feel that this question is more like choosing your favorite color. It is so wide, like it is so difficult to choose a favorite designer because there are so many out there. But if I really had to choose maybe one, like, one designer that I look up to, worship, in all honesty, is Jacques Muse. Like, that's one brand. Everything about that brand is beautiful in every which way. I feel from the designs to the content that they create, the marketing strategies, or like just the aesthetic of the brand, and even Simon for that matter, it's a very fine line where you want to like mix your personal life with the brand that you showcase, but he has done it so aesthetically and like so nicely. Like this is something that I would want, like that is something that I would definitely want in the future at some point to like I aspire to be like him. So
that's awesome.
Yeah, so that's my one favorite designer out there.
My next question was going to be if you could raid anybody's closet, who would it be? But would it be Jack Muse or would it be somebody else?
If I have an option to raid somebody's closet, then there are too many. But like in terms of
like if you're talking about if you want to.
Yeah. So I think I really love Zendaya. Her monochrome looks are to die for. I love Evan Mock. I mean, just the whole aesthetic of that guy, like everything, he can pull off anything. And there's Kendall, there's Dua, and then of course Hailey. I think I got the confidence of trying to pull off like oversized blazers or like the oversized fits from her. Like, she's the perfect example of the bloquette trend that I was talking about. So yeah, like that's what I personally love. These people's closets. Yeah.
And I think people like Hailey Bieber or Kendall Jenner, or generally it's sort of their makeup or anything else part of their look is usually a lot muted, and they kind of let the clothes and themselves speak for it.
Yeah.
And I think that's really just chic.
It's very chic, and I feel the stylists are doing an amazing job.
Yeah. So my last question would be, do you have any fashion-related pet peeves?
Skinny jeans. Just the sight of skinny jeans, I feel I cannot. I mean, it was cool at some point, but I think now if I see somebody wearing skinny jeans, it's like I cannot. Like I just want to like close my eyes. I cannot see. I mean, I feel that at some point, of course, that the trend could come again. We don't know, but for now, just the sight of it, it's just something that's very annoying to me.
Yeah, awesome. I completely agree with the skinny jeans. I think especially now, I think more women or people who like to dress more feminine are embracing like more baggy jeans or having the whole relaxed fit. But I've noticed recently in a lot of men's fashion, they are the ones kind of going for the skinny jeans at the moment. And I think everybody should.
I mean,
At least
Stop.
recently, a couple of years. They really should like reel it in a little bit.
No, I think that's a lot for my eyes to see. Like, I don't want to see that only.
Yeah. Well, Shivani, it was awesome interviewing you. And for the record, you did not sound nervous at all.
No, I was really nervous. I'm still nervous, but I'm just
You
trying to like,
completely pulled it off.
no, but I really enjoyed this, and I hope that honestly, because I don't do this that
Hmm.
often, I really would want to be just like, out there and being like just
Hmm.
more interactive with people who don't know like where the brand is coming from. And
Yeah.
I feel like this was something that was very necessary for me to just like put it out there.
Yeah. And you're super fun to talk to. So we definitely love to do this with you again. So
Yeah,
maybe we can get on another live
excited.
really soon.
Yes, thank you so much for your
Okay.
time.
Thank you
Yeah.
so much, Shivani. Thank you
Yeah.
everybody
Thank
for
you.
tuning in. Be sure to follow Clarachè and check out their awesome designs as well. So thank you everybody. Have
Thank
a nice
you.
day. Bye, Shivani.
Bye.